Good morning, everybody. See, I got my trainee global youth leadership shirt on, day 2, and what a beautiful day it is. So we get to see, unbelievable speakers at this event. Kathy Buckley was on yesterday. If you've never seen her or heard her story, she's the comedian that's deaf, and she's also an activist, and her story is just, it's ridiculous and extraordinary. But my wife is a big New York Yankees fan, and I know it was almost a deal breaker for me. But when I found out how she became a Yankees fan, okay, it made some sense. So the Derek Jeter captain thing has started very similar to Michael Jordan's and the Bulls documentary that they did, and it's really good. And you see people at the end when they've achieved all of these outcomes, and it's easy to look at that and say, oh my God, that person, they had so much talent and they had so much ability, and I could see why they were able to do it, but I'd never be able to do something like that. But we always forget that anybody that accomplishes something very significant, something that we all talk about, something that they write books about, something that they make movies about, it always starts with a very humble beginning, but it also always starts with a vision. You got to remember that Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team when he was a junior, and he was not drafted first or second. He was drafted third. So they thought that 2 other people were going to be better than him. And of course, he turned out to be the greatest player in the history of the game. Derek Jeter gets drafted right out of high school, and he comes from a town in Michigan where normally in the North does not breed baseball players. Baseball players tend to be bred in the South, a lot of California, Texas, Florida, because they can play all year round. But he had a vision, and so did Michael. Michael knew from the minute that he started playing basketball, he wanted to be a professional, and when he got drafted by Chicago, more people came to see the Chicago minor league hockey team play than they did the Chicago Bulls. And when he was drafted, he said, I'm going to turn this franchise into a dynasty like the Lakers, like the Celtics. My guy, the Greek Freak at Milwaukee, did the same thing, by the way, and he's already won 1 championship, a couple of MVPs, and he's on his way quicker than what Michael Jordan did. He shared Michael's vision. Well, Derek Jeter, from the time that he was a little kid, said, not only am I going to be a professional baseball player, not only am I going to be a New York Yankee, but I'm going to be the New York Yankee shortstop. He had specific ideas of what it was he was going to do. His vision was very much a target that he could shoot for, and he did every day. The people that were around him when they were a kid, they knew if you went over to Derek's house too early, he was still going to be hitting balls in the garage, because he knew that someday he was going to be the New York Yankees shortstop. So he gets drafted out of high school, first-round draft pick for the New York Yankees, which was kind of by accident. Other teams had a chance to draft him and didn't. And his first season with them in the minor leagues, he committed 56 errors. 56. I mean, if you commit 10 errors in a season, that's a horrible season. And he did 56 his rookie season. As he said, he goes, you almost got to be trying to commit errors at that point to commit that many errors. But did he give up? No. He wanted to. He hated it. He said, I was completely outmatched. I was getting killed. I was crying all the time. But he knew his outcome. So what did he do? He worked harder. He trained harder. When he finally got up into the pros, he only played a couple of times. And he showed up for training camp. Most people show up in February or March. He showed up for training camp the first year that he had a chance to really play in November. And he trained, and he trained, and he trained, and he trained. And even when he started out that season, he wasn't sure that he was going to stay there, but because he had a bad preseason. He didn't play very well. He didn't hit very well. But then one of the players got injured, and it made it so that they had to hang on to him. And then the rest is history. Anybody that accomplishes anything significant always starts from humble beginnings, and rarely does it go well right from the get-go. I mean, there's the occasional Tom Cruise that shows up in New York and right away gets booked and right away ends up in Hollywood. But then after a few very big movies, it fell apart on him, and he had to retrain himself and figure out how to become the next version of his professional self. But they all also share one thing. They have a vision. They have a vision of where they're going and what they want to be, and the vision is specific. Derek Jeter knew, I'm not going to just be a professional baseball player. I'm going to be a Yankee. And it wasn't just that I'm going to be a Yankee. I'm going to be their shortstop, period. Even when his first season was 56 errors. And he had trained himself so well that by the time he was in his second season, he was already the leader of that team, because he had prepared himself mentally and physically to be ready for that moment when it happened. And when it happened, he killed it. So whatever it is that you want to do, when we have a specific vision of where we're going, you know, the good book says, without a vision, people perish. And that's really true. If we don't have a vision, then we become part of somebody else's design for their life. We don't design our own. But when we have a vision, then we design our own plan. And you're not always going to be on course. And it always starts from humble beginnings. That's how it works. But if you just keep working on it every day and make that little incremental improvement every day, over time, suddenly you're going to look back and realize that you've improved dramatically, and you're nowhere near where you were 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Remember, we overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but we underestimate what we can do in 5. And most people don't have a vision that goes out that far. Most people, it's what am I doing this week? What am I doing this month? How do I pay my bills at the end of the month? The people that do things that we write books about, that we make movies about, that we sit there and watch documentaries about, their vision is larger. They have a vision that they're going to do something great. As Steve Jobs said, let's go put a dent in the universe. That was his vision. Bill Gates' vision is, how do we write the software that runs every computer in the world? That was what he wanted to do. And he pretty much did. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other. Time to go take care of the kids.